Life is Strange 2 has been an emotional roller coaster for Sean and Daniel, who have been assaulted, emotionally traumatized, and nearly killed on multiple occasions. Now Sean has been put into another dire situation. With his brother gone and him now waking up 2 months later after being in a coma, he must find his brother. Add into everything, Sean could face life in prison for the actions outside his control, and that's only what's presented in the opening scenes. Things get far worse as the episode goes on, with Sean having to showcase how much he's willing to sacrifice for his brother. Episode 4 opens up with Sean in the hospital. The events of episode 3 have put Sean in a dire situation. After being in a coma for 2 months, he learns that Daniel is missing. His surviving friends are either been taken into custody or fled the scene, and he could face life in prison for the events that transpired in the beginning of the game. Things slowly escalate as Sean attempts to find Daniel. For the sake of spoilers, I cannot say who he'll encounter, but Sean will have to put his trust in strangers and the people who betrayed him in hopes to save Daniel. Thankfully, the episode is peppered with a lot of difficult decisions. Sean will have to decide whether to forgive, take action, or whether to trust someone. Some of these choices don't seem to have long-lasting effects, but they do add to the intensity of the narrative. Having to choose whether this random stranger is worth trusting after a dire situation is much more difficult, and everything comes to a dynamite end where Sean's brotherly love is put to the test. Despite the episode featuring a lot of profound moments, it does highlight Sean's absent-minded nature. In one situation, after stealing a vehicle, Sean has the brilliant idea not to lock the doors, and when confronted by hostile people, decides to engage with them instead of quickly driving off. I get he's not thinking straight after everything that's transpired, but this is just insanity. When the player failed to do something that resulted in something negative happening, that's one thing, but when Sean does it without the player having any control of the situation, that's where things start to get annoying. Thankfully, there are no puzzles and scavenging objectives are limited. Most of the episode has Sean traveling through linear paths in diverse locations. There are optional collectibles, but these are much easier to locate than in previous episodes. Without the simple yet annoying puzzles, the narrative effectively flows from one moment to the next. And those worried about the technical issues in episode 4, there aren't many. I played through the episode multiple times and didn't encounter anything major. The only real problem came from textures taking longer to load, but that was nothing major. What is problematic is the long loading times and poor skip feature. Load times, especially when going to collector mode, can take up to 30 seconds. Worse is the skip feature, which is available on occasion. Some situations cannot be skipped even in collector mode. In a game where the dialogue options change the story and that's the primary appeal to the entire game, having the ability to skip to certain moments in order to alter decisions after you've played the game shouldn't have such strict limitations. But for here, for some reason, it exists. Life is Strange 2 Episode 4 is a fantastic penultimate episode. It has Sean and Daniel going through a difficult hurdle built on blood and sacrifice. Both have to endure a lot in this episode. Sean will have to endure much more to save his brother. I did wish the skip feature was a bit more fleshed out and Sean was a bit more prudent in his automatic decisions, but the build up to such an explosive end made episode 4 currently the strongest episode for Life is Strange 2, and I cannot wait to see how they decide to end this entire season.